Hello, friends. I wanted to share with you about the 2-minute rule. I talked about this a little bit in a previous video about what it's like to be in seminary full-time and working full-time. And the 2-minute rule was a life-changing practice that I began to implement into my life. Now, this is something that I learned from my dad in my early 20s. And the rule essentially is this. If you're in your, if you're at home, if you're at work, if whatever it is that you're doing, and there's a task that you need to take care of that can be done in 2 minutes or less, you take care of it right then and there. And unless you're involved in some deep work that cannot get interrupted and you need to just stay focused. Otherwise, if something can be done in 2 minutes or less, you just get it done right then and there. And what it does is that it teaches you to stop procrastinating. You're building up a practice of not procrastinating. Now, in my early 20s, I knew about the rule, but did not implement the rule very well in my life. I think I tried it from time to time, and it just didn't work that well for me. But a big part of that was that I wasn't consistent. And if you know anything about consistency, it's everything. If we are not applying a rule or practice to our life on a regular basis, it's not going to become a regular practice in our life. So as I got into my 30s, I began to implement the 2-minute rule. I saw how valuable it was, especially in the workplace. In my job, I have a lot of things going on. I've got phone calls. I've got people asking me questions. I'm helping customers. I'm sending emails. I've got a lot of stuff going on. And so part of my job is essentially to multitask, and I've got to be able to jump back and forth all over the place all the time, getting things done. It's easy to simply push things off and not do them. It's easy to not send those emails, easy to not do those returns, easy to not do that phone call, and to push things off. And I used to be the king of procrastination. The king of procrastination. I was the best at not returning emails years and years ago. The best at not getting back to people. The best at not doing that task, not taking out that garbage can when it was full, because I was able to justify that I would do it later. But as I began to implement the 2-minute rule, and what I would simply do is teach myself, all right, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to take the trash out right now. I'm going to send this email right now. So as I began to do it more and more and more, it became easier and easier. Simply like going to the gym. You go to the gym every day. The first 30 days is kind of tough, and you start getting in the rhythm. Before you know it, you can't help but just go to the gym. It becomes a part of your life. It's a routine. So the 2-minute rule is a similar practice. It becomes a routine. And what it does is it forces you to get into the habit of just getting things done efficiently, quickly. And to me, the biggest reason for doing this, it's kind of a twofold. You eliminate a lot of small tasks. The small things just kind of add up over time. Those emails, those phone calls, those conversations you need to have, those things you got to take care of, those things you got to file away, they build up. Before you know it, you have dozens, hundreds of little tasks that you need to get done, but then it feels overwhelming. I think this is why a lot of people have a lot of anxiety in their workplace, in school, because they just allowed lots and lots of little things. It's not big things. It's little things that build up to big things. And this is where the 2-minute rule really comes into play. It helps you to eliminate all those little things. So by the end of the day, end of the work week, you really don't have a lot of small things bogging your mind down. And that's what I found happened in my life a lot. My mind was constantly bogged down by lots of little things, and all those little things became big things. So my encouragement to anybody who maybe they're in school, they're working, you're corresponding through emails a lot, is to begin implementing this to overcome procrastination. I used to think that I would never overcome procrastination. I honestly would joke around with people and just kind of act as if like this is who I am. I'm the guy who procrastinates. That's what I do. I think people kind of knew me for that. And it's kind of embarrassing to say now, but I think that's part of the growth process of recognizing that we don't have to stay stagnant. We don't have to stay the same person always and have the same practices. We can grow and do better, get better at school, get better at work, but it's willing to change. It's willing to implement practices that will actually make a big difference. And I have to say the 2-minute rule has been one of the biggest helps, one of the biggest tools in my life that has helped me to overcome anxiety, just so that I don't have 100 different things that I'm worrying about at the end of the day, at the end of the week. I write things down. I have notes saying, I know I need to knock out these things. And as soon as I get a chance, boom, I knock those things out. So I wanted to encourage any of you who are king procrastinators like I am, or you're just thinking about really tightening your belt on your disciplines. The 2-minute rule is a great practice. And here's the thing: you will fail all the time. There will be so many times where you're trying to implement this rule, and then you're like, oh, I didn't do that. I didn't send that email. Oh, I didn't want to make that phone call, and you think about it the next day. I still do it sometimes. I'm not trying to say like I'm perfect or anything, but what I'm saying is it makes a big difference. And the more you implement it into your life, the more it becomes natural. So when I used to dread the idea of a phone call, let's say I have to call a customer and give them bad news because an order got delayed because our truck didn't come in time, and I know that they're going to be pouring concrete and they need this really bad. I used to, years ago, procrastinate on the phone call because I just dreaded having to do it. Even though it was only going to take me 1 to 2 minutes to do this phone call, I dreaded it. I procrastinated, and that made the problem worse, which added on more anxiety and more problems. But as I implemented the 2-minute rule, and as it became more and more of a norm in my life, now I will pick up that phone. I'll call that customer, give them the bad news about something, or hopefully good news, and get it done with, and it's over, and I don't have to worry about it. And so I want to encourage you, if you're thinking about implementing new disciplines in your life, the 2-minute rule is one of the most life-changing disciplines you can implement in your life, and it removes so much anxiety. So I just wanted to explain a little bit more about how the 2-minute rule works. Sometimes it doesn't work practically. Sometimes it can actually be somewhat of a nuisance, because in your mind, you're like, okay, I got to take care of it. 2-minute rule. I need to go do this thing, but you're in the middle of something really, really important. So part of it is just using common sense and discernment. There are just times where it does not make sense to do something, right? Like, let's say your trash needs to be taken out in your office, but you're right in the middle of having a conversation with somebody. Obviously, you don't want to be like, hey, can you hold on a minute? I need to take out my trash. It's looking a little full right now, right? So part of it is just using discernment, knowing when is the right time to do something. So think you can kind of think that through. I think through scenarios in my mind. When is the right time to use the 2-minute rule? When is not the right time to do it? And I find during my work day, or even just when I'm at home relaxing with my family, most of the time the 2-minute rule is the right time to do it. It could be something as simple as my wife saying, hey, can you go do that real quick for me? Can you, go watch the baby real quick? Or can you go move that chair? Whatever it is. And it's easy to just be complacent and be like, oh, whatever, I don't want to do that right now. I'll do it later. I'll do it tonight. And then it never gets done. And that causes friction in your marriage, right? You do that a dozen times, a couple dozen times, 100 times, and that builds up over years. That's what builds tension. That's what builds conflict in a marriage, because now one spouse who, has asked the other spouse, hey, can you help with something? Can you do this real quick? And the other spouse is procrastinating. It makes the other spouse feel like you don't care. And I think the reality is that the other spouse does care, but by procrastinating, they kind of don't care. It's kind of a weird thing, but I have found it's helped in my marriage. It's helped in friendships. It's helped in work. It's helped in ministry. And it alleviates a lot of stress. So that's my encouragement. That's the 2-minute rule, something that I practice in my life on a regular basis. In my mind, I don't call it a 2-minute rule anymore. I think I used to think of it that way. Now it's just instinct. Over time, it just becomes instinct. I need to get that done. I can't procrastinate. I got to get that done. And it just makes my day so much better, so much less stress. So that's my encouragement. I hope you get something positive from that, and I hope you have a great day. Have a great one.